It's Muscoco, Mickey, Rico, Lucusi, Johnny, Gators, and Versatility, Hannibal, Bliss, and this party. Red man, a red tsunami, red creeks, and a red Ferrari, red clay, but right your body, Pentacle, and X body, ya, bless. They call me Mr. Manifest. You felt the screaming out the chest. I got this technique best. I found my destination through a red light. Rock your soul through the daylight. Hot your going crazy, right? Nancy going crazy, right up, man, fight. I'm purple hazy through the night. I'm thinking chili out of spite. I'm making soup for the slice. I'm speaking Alabama cream. I'm South going through the streets. I rock that red, it's all the thing. Koozie King is outrageous. Koozie. I'm talking, they call me Nico Tussanookie. Like a flame, like a dude. In the field, such a core. And I got something funny.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Glad to be back. Glad to be back in the saddle. Peace to the people in the chat. So I got a word for you tonight. Good evening, Michelle Walker. Got a word for you this evening. Forgiveness. That's the word. Forgiveness. I know. We're here to talk about Indigenous, and we will. But I'm here to say, for real, that if you can bring yourself to forgive somebody or even oneself, that's a very important thing. Just wanted to share that. We want to get straight to the jugular tonight. We got a lot to cover. Hannibal James calling you up. How you doing, soldier?
Hey, I'm awesome. How you doing up here?
You know anything about forgiveness, man?
Oh yeah, I think that's the only way to get your conscience right. Forgiving people, you have a lot of anger when you hold a lot of animosity inside. Yeah, I was listening to you. That was a good word for tonight. How you been?
Man, grateful, man.
Yeah.
Looking at some of the things that we've covered over the past month, 2-3 months. A lot of content.
Right.
And then we've touched on other things.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, it's a lot of things that play effect with us, I was just thinking about what was happening with the Muskogee Freedmen out there in Oklahoma. You heard about that, last year November or so, they won a land-breaking case where they was allowed to be get citizenship into the tribe. But now is an issue with them getting citizenship. I guess it's some type of voting block that's happening in the nation now, which hindering the freedmen becoming enrolled into the nation. So shout out to Rhonda Grace and Demario Simmons and Jeff Kennedy for their work they're doing with the Freedmen out there, the Muskogee Freedmen.
You said Demario yeah. Solomon.
Yeah, he's an attorney. Demario Simmons, Demario Solomon Simmons. Yeah, he's an attorney.
Yeah.
Muskogee.
He's out of Tulsa, right?
Yes, sir. A lot of the Muskogee Freedmen are really red sticks. A lot of them got actual DNA. A lot of them might not know how to research it, but a lot of us, like I said, a lot of us stayed behind. So a lot of them surnames, the Simmons and Kennedys, the Graysons for sure, are connected to my family. You know, they've been leading the way. That Rhonda Grayson and Demario Simmons and Jeff Kennedy, they've been leading the way. You know, anything about the Freedmen, that Creek Freedmen's plight and they circumstances, them three people have been doing a lot of work. So I just wanted to shed light on what the work they're doing.
Good stuff. Yes, tough to get Demario on the line though. He's a busy cat. He ain't got a lot of time for any old thing. It's tough to get him on the line. Yes, but he's been involved also with some of the survivors of the Tulsa massacre of 1921. Yeah. Of course, I wrote a book about that. That was my second book, I Am Black Wall Street.
A lot of the quote unquote blacks or Negroes that was out in Oklahoma are freedmen from the 5 civilized tribes. You know. Yeah, I remember I Am Black Wall Street. You talk about Tulsa.
Yeah, 2 heroes in this book. One is a black man, one is a white man. Chief John Horse, and then John Brown.
John Brown, okay. Yeah, John Brown. Then they were trying to kill him for a long time.
They killed him.
Yeah, West Virginia, Kansas, New York. Yeah, that way he was.
Yeah, he was popping on in Kansas. Back then, states. Remember, it was only 13 colonies,
right?
And
the other states was territory, so they just had like little scouts patrolling the whole state. Yeah,
quite made statehood yet, and those states had to decide whether they were going to be slave states or free states. And Kansas is where the fight went down. Chief John Brown led his soldiers, and they were fighting against slavery.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's a connection between those in Kansas and the Freedmen's, because the Kansas sit right next to Oklahoma. You know, so a lot of the Freedmen's went to Kansas as well. You know,
to my understanding, the Kansas Jayhawkers, the basketball team, the Kansas Jayhawkers, that was all about freedom fighters, to my understanding. I could be wrong. I'm open to learn.
You know, that's something to look into, the Kansas City Jayhawks. You know, I know we got a profound history. I was just sitting back, you know, we thinking about the Indigenous title, but then at the same time thinking about the title of being Black. And that title of being Black, we got a lot in that title. And I think that can't throw it away now. You know, we know what comes along with being Black, that comes along with being Indigenous. You know, all the pressure and all the shame they done put on us with that moniker, but it's nothing more better than being Black. You get what I mean? And I can say it like that. You know, we all know the histories and playing semantics. I think now's the time not to play them games. You know, there's too much going on in the world.
You know, over the weekend, I had to go to school down in College Park. That's about 45 minutes from where I live. And I had a chance to make my first presentation on my dissertation, on my, we call it a capstone project. And it was 50% of the grade for the class, but it was also a reminder to me of why this platform is important. I'm looking at in my doctoral work how our platform, how we are limited by algorithms and other things we cannot see that reduce our reach, that limit our reach. Things going on in the background that we would never know, but we know it's something. I've talked to too many people, there are too many instances, and so that's what I'm looking at. And I've identified it as algorithmic precarity.
Yeah, you talked about that before.
Yeah, the uncertainty of what happens to your post.
So you call it algorithmic precarity.
Precarity, yeah. P-R-E, precarity, yeah, precarity. And it's the uncertainty, how your reach is limited by algorithms, by systems built going back generations dealing with technology.
Like the gatekeepers, the technology of the gatekeepers, right?
I would say beginning with film and photographs, particularly.
So you're talking about the influence of culture, you know?
I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
This might blow your mind.
Okay.
And thank you for joining. Please like and share. This is the Indigenous Show.
Yes, sir.
And right now we're talking a little bit about media. All right. So this is called a Shirley card.
A Shirley card.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what am I seeing with these colors? I see them. I see the colors at the bottom, the first 6 to the left. Then I see the ones flanked to the right, up and down, and the shades. I can see that. But
it was used to calibrate images. In the second half of the 20th century, chromogenic prints became the most popular commercial color photographs. But the process required to make them became more complex and expensive. So managing their production became the work of professionals rather than amateurs, an important change from earlier in the 20th and 19th centuries. These prints were mass produced at commercial labs, drugstores, and printing businesses. And each day, trained technicians would prepare the printing machines. Manufacturers like Kodak mailed carefully calibrated or balanced standards known as Shirley cards to each printing business. The card's name is said to come from the woman pictured in the first version, a Kodak employee named Shirley. Technicians would print the same card on their machine and compare it to the calibrated version. If the colors looked different, they would adjust filters to correct the appearance. You ever notice how white people on television always look darker than they are?
Oh.
We can see it with this technology right here.
Oh.
If we were white, these systems are already calibrated, just like the Shirley card, where anything that's not that comes out somewhat distorted. I think we're being joined by the guru. See if he know anything about this. Planet Wells.
What up, though, Planet?
Hey.
What up, though?
How's everybody?
Awesome.
Hey, Planet, you know anything about the Shirley card?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yep.
My man.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a lighting card related to particularly lighter skinned people. Is completely unbalanced in terms of melanated skin, darker melanated skin, and it was in effect, and I would imagine it's still in effect to some degree.
Oh yeah, I would say in real time to date. So
Correct.
in 2021, I'm sorry, did I cut you, Hannibal?
No. Oh.
Oh, I see. I can see. I get with him.
It's my understanding also that in 2021, Google apology to people of color for APA's role in promoting, perpetuating, and failing to challenge racism, racial discrimination. No, that's not it. Google apologized for racist picture tones. Google apologizes after its Vision AI produced racist results. So let me pull this up for the team. And what we were getting to ultimately, Planet, at least where I was trying to go, was how our media, having access to media, is critical. So here it is right here. Google apologizes after its Vision AI produced racist results. A Google service that automatically labels images produce starkly different results depending on skin tone on a given image. The company fixed the issue, but the problem is likely much broader, going all the way back to the Shirley card. So it's just stuff built on top of stuff.
Correct.
Did you see this, Hannibal?
Yes. I see. I just left a message saying where they left their info at so I can get in contact with them.
Big Ma Baby, hello to the people in the chat. Shirley Baker. Thank you, Shirley J. Baker. Justice for Greenwood.
Yes.
Hensey salutes Shirley J. Baker.
Yes, that Muskogee. Hello. How you doing? Greetings.
Big Ma Baby, hello.
Peace, Big Ma Baby.
Peace.
So, Planet, what's been happening in your world, man? You see this man? Let me get the story right, because I don't like to be incorrect. This person at 1600 was guy Mueller. Everybody's talking about it. Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He added, he can no longer hurt innocent people.
Who is this guy, Robert Mueller?
Oh, this is what the president said. Following the death of former FBI director and special counsel Robert Mueller in March 2026, Donald Trump expressed strong animosity, writing on social media, Robert Mueller just died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. He added, he can no longer hurt innocent people.
Yeah, I just looked at his face. I remember him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, can you bring up the one where he's talking about to the Prime Minister of Japan?
Who, Robert Mueller?
No.
Trump?
Yeah. And
this
more specifically, if you can find her response, what she said in response to that.
He made a joke about Pearl Harbor tour.
Mm-hmm.
That can't go nowhere decent.
No, and it didn't. It didn't. She said she will never step foot in America again. No, she says she'd never been that disrespected as a leader of a country.
Oh, they done put the joint up. I'm not paying these people. I don't know about y'all, but I don't pay them people.
There's a lot going. Wow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to digest that. It's like you know, it's like we live in a paradox and things that's happening now I never thought would ever happen. You know, things that, you know, it's like some serious things that's happening. Then the people that's ahead of us, our so-called political leaders, are making a mockery of it. You get what I mean? And that gives the people on the outside looking in at us like we all with that. You get what I mean?
Right.
We are with the shenanigans that our leader is with. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's rolling around is the TSA.
Queer, yeah, I seen that.
You know, the idea of replacing them or augmenting them with the ICE agents in the airport.
But with the TSA, I remember that when the towers fell, that we was so much in the uproar. I remember that we made that new department, the Department of Homeland Security, and then we threw the TSA under there, right? So now you're saying that customs and enforcement is going to be into the TSA, into the Homeland
Correct.
Security now.
Particularly at the airport, those same ICE agents that was raising havoc in Minnesota and Chicago and whatnot, Minneapolis, they now have been issued at the airports to assist because they're not paying the TSA employees. So he's trying to augment that, and you know, he's saying that you know, they are going to be typecasting people, right, and asking them for additional papers and this, that, and the other, and all that at the airport. You know, everything is to deflect.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there, Donnie.
So he said this in front of her?
Yeah, no, yeah, Donnie, if you can pull it up so we can hear it. You got to check this, Hannibal.
Which piece are you talking about?
The one in the right corner, my right. The one that's down there.
Yeah.
Right
so
now?
Yeah. We don't want to play not via that channel.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll try another way.
You know,
but yeah, you would have to hear it, Hannibal, to believe it. Because if I told you, no, you'd have to see it that way.
So since our last show, the world went to hell in the handbasket, guys. The last 2 weeks, so much done popped off. You know.
Yeah.
You don't know where to start. You know?
I haven't been able to catch much of it because of the torrential storm in Hawaii. But you know, I saw a little bit of it in print. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is really, and the how would have you experienced the uptake in the gas prices in your area?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And Hawaii, yeah, it's really getting high.
Where you
with the extra shipping, you know. So it's going towards 6, and some people say that it's going to be 7. So that's a deep lick for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people.
Okay, I see everybody about their emails, so I'm checking my emails now. So after the show, I'll get back with everybody for sure. Just leave your emails here in this chat right here, and I'll make sure I get with everybody.
Did you put your email in there, Hannibal?
Yeah, Hannibal James at ourheritagehub.com.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. But whoever want me to contact them, leave your email in this chat so I can write it down.
Okay, so Hannibal, one of the things you and I have talked about is business.
Yes, sir.
And in one of our last conversations, you talked about wanting to do highlight some businesses. Here's the email address to reach Hannibal. We've talked about supporting your business. Matter of fact, on that note, let me try to make sure we give you your fair shine. So we, I don't know that I have any around. We give away these Black Wall Street Awards, these plaques. We've given away like 3,000 of them, named it after the man who first made them, Joe Mann's. Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Award. We celebrate Black entrepreneurs and professionals as well as the people who support them regardless of race. To date, Be More News has recognized over 3,000 people in 9 cities: New York, Baltimore, DC, Richmond, Atlanta, New Orleans, Mobile, Tulsa, and Vegas.
Okay.
3,000 people honored since 2011. This young man is one of those honorees. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Doni.
Hey, now.
How you doing, guys?
All right.
Now he's been prepped about this show. So Dapz, welcome to the platform, the Indigenous show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now Hannibal, I invited him on. Obviously, I asked him the magical question, and he said, yeah, but he makes music and he makes clothes, and it made me think of you.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
So, and this is the first time I've talked to Dapz since what's the date on that plaque?
It was 2018.
Do you have one?
We've talked since then because you had your TV show and we talked about that, and so we've talked since then. Yeah, we spoke.
Do you have the award with you?
No, I don't have it. I still have it, but I don't have it with me. It's at my mother's house.
Okay. But he got a Black Wall Street Award. You remember the year?
It was 2019, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so 7 years ago.
2018 or 19, one of the two.
Okay, and so tell them about your brand.
Oh well, my brand is Dapz Authentic Collection, and the meaning behind it is when you bump fists, you're not just bumping fists, you're creating strength, love, and unity between you and that person. So that's the bond that y'all created, when you touch fists. And that's what everyone, you come in contact with someone, they extend themselves, you extend yourself, hey, you're creating something between you and that person. And that's what that was my idea.
Mm.
All right.
And it's a clothing line?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well,
come on, man. You got the gear on now, right?
All right.
Don't be shy.
What city you are?
I'm in Baltimore.
Okay. Baltimore represent.
Yep. Raised in Baltimore.
For those who can't see the fine print, what does it say?
Strength, peace, love, and unity.
Excellent.
Strength, love, and unity.
That's what it means. Strength. Whenever you bump fists, that's what it creates between you and that person. That's that bond that you have with that person. Eye to eye, fist to fist. You're creating strength, peace, love, and unity between you and that person.
Well, very good.
Mm-hmm. You said it's hard. Eye to eye. A lot of people don't look people in the eye nowadays,
Yeah.
A lot of people look off, just they know they up to something.
How about that? I understand. I understand wholeheartedly. Yes.
Right. So what did the award mean to you?
Oh, wow. That was my first award for what I was doing on fashion, because I'm gonna walk back and I'm gonna talk about the day you pulled me up, because when you was interviewing people, I was like, I hope he don't pull me up. So I was trying to get around you, and then you said, hey, you come here, what you do? So I have a women's clothing line as well, and my women's clothing line is Strength, Peace, Love, and Unity, It's called Bougie, and it's dedicated to the women in my family, and it's extended to all women.
Okay.
It means strength, peace, love, and unity. A woman knowing her worth. So when I explained that to Donnie was like, hey, he put me on Facebook Live. Not only put me on the spot, he put me on Facebook Live. And when I started talking about what I was doing, the responses I was getting, he said, man, I'm giving you an award.
Mm-hmm.
And because we was at a Black Wall Street event, and I did a fashion show at the Black Wall Street event. So yeah.
So where can I?
Mr. Glover, yeah.
So where can we go and support you? You know, where can we find your wares?
Put that in the chat, man. Put your contact information in the comments.
I surely will. So that's basically what I've been doing.
What's your website?
Go to Instagram, Bougie, BOOSHII 10. Instagram.
That's BOOSHII 10.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll be able to
all my content on there. You'll see everything, and you'll have an understanding of how I do things. I created a jacket. I sent that to Donnie earlier. I created a jacket for LL Cool J. I'm trying to get it to him, but once I get it was a zipping up and a pullover leather jacket. But if I don't get it to him, I'm gonna donate it to the Hip Hop Museum. So that's one of my goals, just get it out there, because I think I did something well with that jacket, because boy, I'm tempted to wear it myself.
Excellent.
Yeah, we need to see that jacket now.
Oh yeah. So that's
so here's the real question, man. This show is Indigenous. Do you have Indian in your family? Yes, I do. I'm great to read some information to you, because I'm a Bellamy. My mother's side of the family, we are Bellamys.
Yeah.
And Armisi Bellamy was married to my great-grandfather, Vincent Bellamy. Armisi Bellamy was a Indian from Florida. All our families come from Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, New Jersey. That's where we're from. Okay. And Vincent Bellamy was Cherokee.
Okay.
So I have a lot of Indian heritage in my family, is on my mother's side especially.
Okay.
I don't know much about my father's side, but I know a lot about my mother's side. Growing up, did you share that with a lot of your friends, your peers? Did they know that about you? You know, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to be honest with you. I was in elementary school. And in elementary school, they was asking, because I heard it so much about Indian in my family. So they was doing surveys. They were doing surveys, and they was like, all right, we're the black kids, the white kids, we're the Indian kids. And I was raising my hand. I was like, it's like, you're not an Indian? I said, no, I am an Indian. I have Indian in my family. I said, what's your blood? I said, Indian. So my teacher swore down I didn't have Indian in me at all. But that's my heritage. I have Indian heritage. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I it's funny. That's all I heard all my life, my Indian heritage from my mother. God bless her soul.
Yeah.
I've seen that Bellamy surname a lot during my research, so I know they're amongst the Cherokees, or what we call Anayawe. And I know they're amongst the. You can't hear me?
I can.
Okay, I know that the Bellamy family is amongst the Cherokees, the Creeks, and the Saponis and stuff like that. So it's when you talk about
Corey, can you hear? Corey can't hear. Corey is not hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Not hearing me. You can hear me, Donnie?
Loud and clear. Maybe, Corey, you got to go out and come back in.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was just saying that the Bellamy family is you know, when you're doing your research, you'll see that family amongst the tribes, especially like you said, the Cherokee. You know, I was giving them the name of what they call themselves, Ani Yawiya, and amongst the Muskogee, and amongst the Saponis, amongst the Cherus, and like you said, amongst them tribes going up the eastern seaboard. So, yeah, you know, your family is known, that surname, that Bellamy surname.
Corey, you
You
say
with
you
it? You
can't
with
hear
us now?
us? Yeah, you got a
Still
bad
can't.
connection. I'm gonna kick it out of there, and
And come back in.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so his family is, you know, as far as researching his family, there's a lot of information about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like, you know, anybody that's want to do their research, you know, if you know your mama's, your grandmother's last name, or grandfather's last name, you can really find your family just doing your due diligence. You know, them little stories like how he said, you know, yeah, like, do you have any in your family? I think all of us had that story, or the majority of us had that story. But then a lot of us can't connect to the quote unquote the actual tribe, and that be the issue. Then we get under one moniker, and the vision of our past is kind of jumbled up with everybody, everything else. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Corey, I can tell you there's a lot of people talking about it today. You're not alone today, buddy. People are talking about indigeneity all over the country.
Exactly.
People are no longer accepting the story that was sold to us by Roots.
Exactly.
Alex Haley, a plagiarized story. Nobody's buying Kunta Kinte. People are looking into, and I mean elders, people older than me, are coming to realize that, wow,
So
if only 5% of the people transported in the slave trade came to North America, totaling 400,000, and we have 44 million of us today, the math ain't mathing. We were already here. And them Olmec heads, I don't know that I've ever said it on this show, but I'm gonna step out there on faith. Those Olmec heads, I think they were here all along. I no longer think they came by way of a ship. I think they were made right here.
oh yeah, they was made here.
Well, yeah. I mean, two things come to mind. Is one that you have all of these indigenous tribes and people here in incredible numbers, right? So you have that, and then you have the process of stealing people's land, right? So what I'm saying is that the genocide of millions of people has been removed. Well, it wasn't removed, omitted from the history, right? That's a major reason why we keep seeing the omission in history, because it will really reveal the nature of the colonizers in terms of destruction. And no one wants to look at that. So they want to say, okay, if you were here, you were just savages, and you know there were a few of you here and there, and in this TP and in that TP. But there was whole, full, exalted architectural civilizations here that they destroyed, right? So that's a major piece that they don't want brought up.
You know, they didn't even, I mean, look at it from this standpoint. They didn't want us to read and write because they knew once we got a
There you
grasp
go.
on reading and writing. We was going to learn more. That's why they killed our people, because they reading and learning to read and write. You know, because once you have knowledge, you're dangerous to them. They don't want you to know nothing. They still
Correct.
don't want you to know nothing.
Correct.
Man.
Right. So when you say, well, my people Cherokee is a term from my people's word, mean people of foreign speak, or Chalaki.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to say you honor Yahweh, or you the principal people. That's what you called yourself. You didn't call yourself I'm Cherokee. So anybody out there that's saying that, they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? That's the lie right there.
Or they just simply don't have the information.
Put it right there. But even if you don't have the information, it's still you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You got to know your 5 clans: Wind clans, Blue Holly clans, Deer clans. I know 3 of the 5.
Here's a picture of my great grandmother, Armisi Bellamy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You have that picture. That's wonderful. That is really wonderful. Yep.
So I'm up here thinking they part of that Wind clan, if I'm not, or the Deer clan. I think it's the
Where
Deer
were
clan.
they residing? Where were they residing? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Where was they living at?
Our family is all over North Carolina, Florida, Glen Burnie, New Jersey.
Yeah, because it's I think that's the
New York.
Chickamauga. So the Cherokee that was up in North Carolina. So you could trace them by the locations. So I think that the Chickamaugas, that was the ones who came in the confederation with us, right? The Muskogee and with the Shawnees and stuff like that. They really was fighting against some of the other Cherokee that was with the European. So, it's a lot. You got a good history there to look into.
And part of our Indian Removal Act from 1830, many of the 5 tribes moved to Florida. Florida.
So if you were down there with us, but Florida is Muskogee area, or Miccosukee speaking people that was down that way. The Seminoles, you call Seminoles or Muskogee. Seminoles is runaway Muskogees or Yamasees or. So what part of Florida you was at?
It doesn't say in the family ledger, but I'm going to dig deep into it and I get more information.
Yeah, I think you ahead of the game, because that's good to hear that the name of your people and certain places they was at, and you can actually because North Carolina, Florida, now you actually got to see what historical events drove the tribe into them locations.
Right. My mother kept this picture, and she always talked about this picture on Missy Bellamy. Always. She always had something to say. And when she talked about our Indian heritage, truthfully speaking, I thought I was an Indian. I didn't look at myself as being black. I looked at myself as being an Indian, Right. But
you come by the far as your tribe, you are from that mother. So you are of her clan because of your mother.
Could you share that with the kids you grew up with?
I shared it with my children. I have not shared it with my friends. I shared it with my friends that I knew, like some of my closest friends, girlfriends, and stuff like that. But I never went outside, and I did share it on Facebook. That's enough as a whole right there. I'm very transparent about my heritage. Bellamy's, we don't play. We come from a strong backbone family. So Yeah.
Look into the Moy toys. That's one. Every time you say Bellamy, I'm hitting Moy toy, but then I'm also thinking about somewhere in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Cherokee that was in Tennessee, and it's
You,
the Moy toy. He was the Amatoya Moy toy. He was the head of the Cherokees. Him
okay.
and his sons, uh, Okanosta, who else? There's a few of them. There's a few of them. That family right there, that line. I think he was the royal family, and then them Bellamy's come somewhere with them. And the Gopher, go forth, Goforth family, go forth family.
Now the next time we're together, I'm gonna
Yes,
show.
sir.
I'm looking for a picture of my grandfather as well because he looked just like his mother, but he just darker. But I'm gonna look for that picture of my grandfather because you can see the Indian in him as well.
Mm-hmm.
See, now we're touching on something real important, because now you got to see that you got true natives or true indigenous folks, then you got some deceptive folks, then you got some people that's playing the part. You get what I mean? So within the nations, you had those who, like, especially with the Cherokee and the Muskogee, those who lined themselves with the Europeans, with the French, with the Spanish, with the British. You get what I mean? So amongst the Cherokee, or the so-called Cherokee, is a family called the Van family, Vann.
Mm-hmm.
And Van, and he was probably the richest Cherokee down below Tennessee. So that family too look into. And that family owned a lot of slaves. And he was basically getting the other indigenous tribes and calling them Negroes and stuff like that. So it's the history is of being indigenous is deep. You might maybe find out within that Cherokee tribe that you come from another tribe that was amalgamated with amalgamated by the Cherokee, because they took over certain places. You get what I mean?
And
Mm-hmm.
they're also all shades of color.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that's why you got to be careful with the term black and white.
Correct. Because that denotes like one or the other.
Right.
And the bulk of the people are in between, or copper colored, just like you have multiple different types of pennies.
Right.
Some are darker than the other. Um, so getting locked into just the color um, really limits the scope. Yeah, and Hollywood was an agent of presenting one type of Indian perceived color, which was usually a makeup on a European,
Right.
because they were controlling the as Donnie said, the media and the projected image. Mhm.
Yeah. But
But
then you also
we're all shades.
Yeah. But then you also had what's going on within our society, what we know now. You got people trying to fit in. You had the paper bag test. You had people
Correct.
like that wanted to pass. Even within those, even within the nations, it was the same way. You had Scottish folks that was the chiefs that found themselves intermingling to the heads of these indigenous nations. But when they come to their European counterparts, they at the lower totem pole. You get what I mean? So, like I said
Correct.
before, now they got some bartering power amongst their contemporaries,
Hmm.
where they was at the bottom. So that's why so when we looking at the nations, or the $5 Indians, no, they're not $5 Indians, them mixed Scottish
Hmm.
natives. A lot of them do have mothers that were natives, so they
Hmm.
got
Right.
rights. They just sold it out. You get what I mean?
Right. Hmm.
You know, it ain't all of them, because you read stories about some of them that really stood up for the nation. You know, you just got to find them certain people, certain stories of those certain Irish Europeans or Scottish Europeans that was chiefs of tribes, you know, that stood up. You know, you had let's see. You had several. You had McIntosh. You know, McIntosh is the reason why the Muskogees or the Lower Creeks is out there in Oklahoma. He the one of the reason why Georgia is part of the United States and Alabama is a part of the United States. The McIntosh family. You know, a lot of the quote unquote Scottish and Irish families got indigenous connections. So when it comes to black, white, don't bring up barriers when you see these in records, because them are code words. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Easily.
And it was a system of division. Right.
But then at the same time, you had some of us that was in some prominent positions. You'll start seeing that a lot of us could read back in the early 1840s and 1850s before emancipation. It wasn't, you know, I think a lot of these stories are still are put in place to play on our psyche now. Subconscious. You get what I mean? Oh, we couldn't, we weren't forced able to read, but then you go to the record books, you see people. How you cannot be able to read if you building things?
Right.
This is my grandfather. This is Armisi's son.
Yeah, there you go.
What's his name?
Alfred Bellamy.
Alfred Bellamy.
Now, you said that's whose son?
This is Armisi's son.
Can you show me Armisi? Okay.
And but you see how if you look at Armisi and you look at him, people won't even put the two together until you tell the story.
Until you tell the story, exactly. Until you tell the story. Yep.
Yeah. DNA is in genetics is a wild thing. You know, we look at phenotype and colors and think that, well, if you mix this color and you can mix that color like it's milk or some crayons or something. No, it don't go like that. You know,
powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Versatile. A better word would be versatile.
Versatile. How the old folks used to say, well, that baby look like somebody of old. They reaching back into the, you know, and that's facts. You can reach back to somebody way, 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 way back and bring that person to bear now, with, you know, via DNA. You know,
I'm gonna tell y'all a story. My mother
black means death. I was just
pregnant with my little brother, and my mother did not want. It's bad enough I look like my father, but my mother did not. She did not want my little brother to look like my father, and she prayed to God, if please have my son look like my brother.
Okay. And
my brother came out like my uncle, spitting image of my uncle. And this is my uncle.
Like my cousin Michael Steele.
So with every in the family,
y'all know Bellamy been on this show, right?
My uncle.
Look, I got his book.
You know Avon been on this show.
So you know my uncle. You know my uncle. Okay.
I got 3 of his books.
Okay. All right. Well, he has a brother. The 2 older brothers. He's one light, one dark. So each brother had a son. One was the light. The light one had a darker son, and the dark one had a light son as their first child. My brother and myself. My son is. I have a son. My second son is the spitting image of my brother. His son looks like me.
So talk to your uncle and ask him the genealogy work I did for him.
I surely will.
I did some good work. That's why when you said Alfred Bellamy, the name struck with me. And then when you said the other name, it hit me. I just didn't put 2 to 2 together until now.
Yeah.
I did your genealogy.
Thank you.
You are.
Thank you. Small world, isn't it?
Ain't small world.
Well, let's just
Small.
say our community is small. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think that we what they say 6 degrees of separation.
Exactly.
Six
Exactly.
people that you know.
But hold up, Corey. Do you know where Hannibal is?
No, but I'm sure I'm going to find out.
Yeah, I'm right now. I live in Ypsilanti, outside of Detroit. I'm born and raised in Detroit.
Okay.
So I'm out here, not that from like 15 minutes from the big house where the University of Michigan play at.
And plan to tell them where you at.
I'm in Baltimore.
I'm in Maui. I'm in Maui.
Oh, you in Maui? Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But you know, the color thing is a deep thing, you know, because you know you had the concept of people passing.
Yeah.
Well, they still your people though.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I tell you?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, it's personal to me because my father said his grandmother, his mother's mother, she could pass. She looked like she was white when she had long hair. But my grandmother's father was dark skinned, and the family made her divorce him. But it was like internal racism. That kind of blew my head back. Like why they was so caught up on the color of his skin to the point where they wanted the daughter to divorce him. You know what I mean? So my grandmother's grandparents raised her because after I guess she was married to my great grandfather a couple years. She had 3 babies with him, 4 babies. Then she married another guy. You know what I mean? I think his last name was Cooper, but I think he was more lighter. He was more acceptable. You know, I think that it was I don't know. I'm coming up with some reasons to why a person or a family would do that. You get what I mean?
Well, it's the hierarchy system, right? So once again, the media, right? So every movie anybody in the era that you're talking about saw, right, would be the white people, right, would be the ideal and the rulers and you know, right, dressed well and looking at and then the dark skinned people like us, right, would be maybe lucky if we gotta get a role, you know, work in the elevator, right? Right? And shiftless and all of these different things, right? Now you put the impact, right? Because we're all on a media platform right now. So we have impact, right? So now you take like 50, 60, 70 years of just seeing that negative image related to anything darker. So quite naturally, even within the family, right? The perception was the lighter skinned person had more advantage, you know, had more intelligence even. You know, it's that deep. Twisted the shit is, you know. And so that's the process that we have to unravel. We can't get caught up in the trick. Because even like I said, even if the homie was passing, he was still your people. Right? So I got people in my family real light. I mean, my grandfather's brother was light skinned, right? And he was in Texarkana, Arkansas. And he looked at, you know, he was handsome, and he kind of eye flirted with a white woman in town somewhere. And the Klan came to my grandfather's house to kill him. Okay. But my grandfather, Will Jones, he negotiated with them, the Klan, and gave them his 2 horses. But you know, in the 1850s, you know, that the horse was like, you know, that was gold, you know, because everybody was farming and all that kind of stuff. And it really broke the family that was quite a hardship. But he was able to save. His brother was able to skedaddle out of town uh, from that. So this is,
The sad thing about it is those white women sought
of course,
black men out.
yeah.
They sought us. They sought
Yeah,
us.
because we was, it's just like in World War II. My father would tell me that, when they were in France and in, liberating in France, Belgium, parts of Germany, right? When they would be on leave, you know, they would go out and dance with the women, and that whole thing. And they were attracted to that rhythm and that swagger and all of that. So that, yeah. Yeah. So it's a deep sickness.
It's funny how they want to kill you because you're looking at one of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
They had a history with messing
Correct. Deep history.
and you know what's funny? They are still like that to this day.
Right.
They frown upon the mixture of,
Right. Well, the roots of it go back to the religious systems in Europe, where they were in fact worshiping, the Black Madonna, and worshiping, they were deep off into Egypt, so they were worshiping the black goddess Isis and Hathor and this, that, and the other. So it's a sickness. It's a deep sickness.
What's the other lady? What's the lady with the big hips that they come from West Africa that they took her genitalia and put in
right.
about
it? I read about
exactly.
that.
Exactly.
And I mean, they didn't even give up when they operated on her. They didn't even give her no type of relief or pain or anything. They just treated her like a guinea pig, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they were some savages, man. And it works me up.
That's the thing. That's the thing is that what I find is that often when a person calls out another person and says, "Oh, you savages," right? Or you primitive, it's actually the reverse.
Exactly. Because the history that we have, look, I had a conversation with my youngest uncle. We very close. We like brothers. And we was having a conversation one day, and he said, "Who does the mass shooting? Whites or blacks? How often do you hear blacks doing mass shooting?"
Correct.
Just
Correct.
at schools at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just out of the norm. Just mass shooting.
And even when there's any kind of incident that's even slightly related to it, right? I can tell you, back in the day, never would have happened. Never would have happened.
Yeah, when you
some
said
new shit here, believe
me, we can't be totally out the woods now. When something happened, and you got to wait until they say who did it. Now,
correct.
It was a time when certain things happened. We already knew who did it. It was time certain things that we didn't do at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think after the, like shootings, mass shootings and stuff like that became something after the 90s. I'm talking about, killing people that they didn't know, mass shootings amongst us. You know what I'm saying? We ain't 100% out the woods. There was a time when we say, "Oh, that was them people."
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like we got to wait until the news come out. You get what I mean? Or who did it.
So I got to put this out here because Night Crave is a stickler about this.
Yeah.
And I gotta say this. Since we've been doing this show, this question of black has come up.
Mm-hmm.
My bad.
Go ahead.
So in Christopher Columbus' diaries, he mentions about seeing people black skinned with white hooded robes. That's the very first European that comes over here. The eldest or the farthest research, the oldest person you can get to. And these is people that the scholars speculate to come from out of Mali. out of Timbuktu,
Mhm.
out of people that call the word black. I know black is a term that means deaf, but we playing semantics here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
So, and I
check
want to
it.
say
Check
this.
it
I got
on the semantic. One quick, on the semantic tip, right? When I was growing up, right?
Yeah.
If you had some like new cons or some hush puppies, you know, the kind ones, and this, that, and the other, somebody would come up to you, man, damn, man, that them's is bad. Man, you looking good, man. That shit is bad, right? So words have different meanings in different contexts,
Yes.
right? So black, yeah, black may mean one thing, but it also may mean another thing, right? So you have to have the patience to listen to the person, find out what type of influence they're saying, okay? Because being black I can tell you, being black in the 60s, right, gave you a tremendous pride, okay? That saved your life in certain circumstances, right? So we have to be more mutable as opposed to fixed with the idea of these words and shit. Yo,
I think
come
I'm a
on, we
baby of that
smarter than
generation.
that.
I'm a baby of that generation from the 60s. I was born in the 70s, so that was the power behind
Yeah,
black. My uncle,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He was, come on,
yeah,
you know, and we knew our indigenous history, but black,
correct.
you
Yeah,
know, that ties us all together, all our
yeah,
history. No
yeah.
matter if I'm Muskogee, Saponi, Cherokee, you know, during the days when we was indigenous, we was at each other's throats. But now we amalgamated under one word banner, black. You get what I mean?
And black ain't never meant black. See,
Yeah.
this is
Or
black.
meant
This
what
is black, yo.
or meant what they said, man.
This
Yeah,
is
You know,
because
brown,
we brown,
right?
we
right.
brown
Okay.
folk.
Now, one of the tricks with black was to separate us from all of the brown people on the planet, right? You
Yeah.
know, in 1984, there's a thing that the dude said, you know, 3 and 3 is 8. And dude said no, and they train you until they put so much fear in you. You say, yeah, it is 8, right? So they play
Mhm.
with these games, right? But
we can't afford to be divided by
there
that.
you go.
Yeah.
We
And
have
that's
to
what,
get
yeah.
to our higher
Yeah.
self.
But
That's
that's
what
what,
time it is.
yeah, every time it's a focus on something, is always that barrier. And we
Correct.
never get to that focus or the meat and potatoes. We got to deal with other shit along the way. You get other issues
Exactly.
now. You know, like the current state that's happening in the world now. We got people being bombed across the other side of the world right now, and we still playing games on what people calling us. Come on
Yeah,
now, we
exactly.
beyond that now. We got to move the marker, you guys. You know what I'm saying, and not being upset. We know our history. Don't pick sides of what history you want and what
Correct.
history you want to reject. You get what I
Because
mean?
it
That's
because it
So we also have to be mindful that our struggle, we are not the only ones. There are other people that look like us. Where's this woman from, Planet?
I know.
it looked like
Congo.
Australia.
New
Australia.
Guinea. New Guinea?
Australia. Yeah.
Australia. Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what they
Yeah.
went through in Australia when the British went there?
Yes.
I saw one documentary where the men were castrated,
hmm
among other things.
They had the last Tasmanian. Listen, the last Tasmanian on exhibit
Yeah, last 10 minutes.
in a museum.
Yeah,
Right.
right there. I was just thinking about that. That's why I laughed, because they, you know, along their way to meet these people, they was exterminating on Tasmanian devils. But I think recently they said they found one. You know, some type of species that was extinct. But you notice it's everywhere they go, or in history, something always that was there at one time is gone now.
Correct.
And they've been there for eons when we were there. You get what I mean? And these people got connections to the people like in Fiji. You get what I mean? And when you cross the islands, we're going back to Hawaii on the other side, because Hawaii is when you're over there, Australia, and you keep going east, you're gonna come into Hawaii.
Yeah, man. All that.
This kid's from
Vietnam, Cambodia, all of that.
This kid's from the Solomon Islands.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, natural.
Yeah.
Did you see the ones in Africa with blonde hair and blue eyes and dark skin?
Yeah.
And
so you have to develop your own sacred intuition to guide you. There is no rule book to none of it. You have to be able to access your heart to know what is true and what ain't. Well, that's what time it is. You have to do the inquiry.
That melanin connection to having a soul, right? And rhythm and being here on this planet. A lot of people deficient of it want it and understand its importance. It's just that a lot of quote unquote us don't understand how we deactivate it and calcify ourselves with our behaviors, like our drinking.
Let me ask you something. Y'all know about this cat here?
Yeah. I forgot his name.
C.R. Patterson.
That's the cat that invented the car, the automobile.
He invented the car, and it was stolen from him.
Yeah.
Damn.
Can you imagine? Just stop for a minute and think about all the other stuff that they have that they stole from us. They stole everything from us but our souls.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Oh, they bought some souls. They still buying souls.
Yeah. and you have to,
because of their mortgage and car note and that spouse, they are not giving up that job, even if their job means throwing 1,000 black people under the bus.
And what you have to look at is the motive of a person. It's a very deficient person that would do that to another being.
I'm going to say this, and I've been thinking this, Lord, ever since I was a teenager. But as slaves, we had time to think. That's why we invented so much, because we had that one-on-one with God, and God gave us multi-talent. I'm not saying He can give everybody, but with us and the stuff that we created and passed down, we had time. We had time.
Nightgrave is going on this roll. So, and I've heard this. Do y'all buy this about spells? I mean, because Nightgrave spends a lot of damn time on spells. I'm trying to grow the damn business. Can you cast a spell of your own? I mean, because it's always they cast it. What they doing to us? I don't live like that. I don't move like that. Worrying about what we make it happen. We make a plan. We go in. We execute. We do it. I don't get this. I don't get this spooky stuff.
I think most that's like being in the battlefield. Most people know there's an enemy out there that you can't get hurt. But most of us gonna go and fight the fight. You get what I mean? So that apprehensive of knowing that you may be hurt will get everybody hurt around you.
Yeah, scared money can't make money. Come on now. If you scared, you gotta stay over there, because we popping on over here.
You got to strategically plan your move.
Well, one of the things in relationship to spells,
spell do the work.
One relationship to spells is the relationship to image, right? So, and the idea that that racism is just related to attitude and not science. But they actually activated science, right, to keep us in a certain unconscious way. So being aware of the fact that this energy is on all different types of levels, and you have to protect and nurture your higher qualities to deal with it.
I'm
But
saying
that's
I don't
true.
live in fear though. That living in fear
No, it's
thing.
not fear. Fear, it's the anti-fear,
Yeah, I don't live in
right?
fear. I don't get down like
Anti-fear. Um, because you're here now.
yeah. I'm a child of the Most High. Come on now. Yea, though I walk through the valley. I
There you
live by
go.
that.
Yeah.
Afraid of nothing.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Exactly.
God has not given us a spirit of fear. So
Correct.
Yeah. But we see what, a lot, I see where Night Crave is coming with the semantics of the
Yeah,
words.
but it's a lot of time and effort on that. What about the damn work?
Yeah, it's just like now we know that we got to speak positive affirmations to ourselves.
And if you want to
Right.
grow a movement of like-minded people, you're gonna have to be, what's the word you use? Planet similar to malleable.
Yeah. Yeah. Your versatility level got to be high.
It's about bringing us together, not pushing us apart. Oh, you say
Yeah.
black, you say this. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah. Once you really understand that the
Come
real
on,
game is
man.
separation, that's the real game, is
Yeah.
the separation. Right.
Trying to build something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. No, that's the work, and know that that's the work, and get on with it.
And we're conscious people. We know our history here collectively. We know that we can be on one path and a monkey wrench can be thrown in our program. We know this. So I think we're more skeptical about people now and about issues now.
And we come in all flavors.
Right.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I
100%.
think knowing, you know,
I think that's the envy.
Yep.
That's why they envy us, because we show versatility.
Exactly.
yeah,
They're
Exactly.
they're one. It's only one track with them. You mix with them, you get the
My
same.
way or the highway. Exactly.
They mix together. That's what they create. But when you put a little flavor to it,
Exactly.
you can go any way. Light, dark, dark, light. You flip
Mm-hmm.
around.
Yeah.
yeah.
We
God is
master
amazing.
everything. We master everything we get into. Everything.
Right.
Everything.
Ballet, soccer, and boxing.
We are dominant. Dominant. That's the bottom line.
That's our greatness.
Like they're supposed to be the examples to everybody else. I think that's what we got to be upstanding. I think that's the word. You look at what you're saying, Planet Wells.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be the example. We were the examples, and it's like now other people making themselves an example, and the world is in chaos. You get what I mean? So we got to
Well,
bring back our greatness.
they're clearly showing what they do. We just got to step up to what we do. But we're in the time. One of the things that ancient people did was they really recorded time, right, and cycles of time. Well, we are clearly emerging into a new cycle of time when everything can shift. Everything. So I was talking to a friend the other day and we were talking, and I said, well, technology often plays a major part in shifting, right? And she said, well, what do you mean? I mean that it used to be when you were in New York, if you wanted to go to California, you had to walk. Okay.
Right.
Then they invented, eventually they invented first with the horse, and that was one thing. And then the invention of an automobile, and eventually an airplane, and now a jet. That thing shifts one's reality in their head, right? And we're merging now into an accelerated technology that is shifting our reality because everything moves, nothing's stagnant, right? So if you identify with something so locked up into depravity, that's where you're going to be. If you ride the current that is moving, changing, and evolving, then nothing can stand in your way
I got a
because
question for the
you're with the
panel.
current of life. Mm-hmm.
What are we leaving for these babies? What kind of world are we leaving them?
Well, I think we're in a transitional period right now, and that remains to be seen because I think we're really merging on, almost everything I see often on the what do you call it, social media or whatever. Often it seems very old. So there's a certain segment of people who are trying to cling to the old. Okay, they are going to fail. Okay, because life does not go back. Doesn't go back. It only goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of the creative principle. It only goes forward. Right. So what we have to do is prepare and be open to a new reality. We've worn out the old reality. That's done. We ain't doing that.
When you
We're
said
not
what
doing
you
that.
were saying, Planet, made me think about the metaverse on Facebook, his idea about everything is an assimilation and
Uh-huh.
every idea can be a compartment in the room. So if you got these old visions and these old thoughts, you're going to be like this compartment in
Right.
this simulation, and people could stop by, hear your speech or flow with the other compartments in which, because everything is, like the technology we in now, we can access the information, and then not
Mm-hmm.
only that, we can see it, we can
Right.
feel it. You know what I'm saying? We can taste it and smell it too if we
Correct.
want to cook certain things, and it's a bit like you said, it's a new age now, and either
Yeah.
we gonna be with it or we gonna get left behind. And
See,
go ahead.
true. Corey, okay. Corey had an idea.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, let's be real. He had an idea. Okay. He nurtured that idea, right? And now he's got a clothing company, right?
All right.
But don't forget where it started. It's
Here.
started for the idea, right? Can
All
you
right.
put an idea on a table? No. Why? Because an idea is invisible.
But also you got to have that potential energy behind it. You got to have that
Correct.
push. The kinetic energy is the thought, or the
Right.
potential energy is the thought. The kinetic is the movement of it. So the step A, B, C, D to get it done. You get what I mean?
Correct. So
Well,
when
hey,
you're praying to what?
uh,
Something what? Invisible.
Mhm.
um,
Okay? So strengthen your connection to the invisible. That's actually your gift,
Mhm.
right? And so Corey has done that and made an idea manifest, right?
That's the godly part right there.
and see
That's the
the
play.
funny thing
Hmm.
is, I presented this to someone who I really truly adored, right?
Right.
And it was a male.
Mm-hmm.
And when I sent it to him, he said, "That's a little young for me."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Young? This is for
Right.
everybody.
Right.
Unity is for everybody. Building strength, peace, love, and unity is for everybody who's going to accept it."
Right.
I just gave it a concept,
Mm-hmm.
a simple concept.
Correct.
That's all I did. This is to bring people together. We find ways to bring people together in so many ways. But I thought outside the box. I said, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bond us with this, because this
Right.
is a bond here.
Well, this guy brought together more people that look like us than anybody in the world.
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus. That's him.
Believe it or not, my youngest baby sister gave me his book to read on him. You know, and I learned a lot about his wife. His wife was the one that got his story out after he got locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to her. So we wouldn't know any information about him and his work without his wife. You know, talking about us living now. You know, the descending generations.
Yeah.
All right, so Corey, it's your first time on the show. You coming back?
Of course.
What you think thus far? You've been on, you gotten a taste, let you hang out with my boys, my brothers.
Hey, man, this is my kind of conversation, man. I love talking about our people. With this platform of talking about our people, to be perfectly honest with you, when it said the capacity of 10 people, I thought it was going to be more than this. So we need to get people on the horn, make people aware of this, and because it's important.
So there's a question here. There's a question here about Marcus Garvey and his involvement with the KKK. I did some reading on it, and he essentially used the argument, to my understanding, that he wanted the same thing that the Klan did. And so my question to the critics is what I always ask Planet. I mean, Hannibal.
Sure.
What do you do?
Yeah, what have you done?
The other
organize
thing,
a million people and then tell me how it go. Because I know if you organize a million black people, somebody gonna try to point a finger.
Well, the other thing is, in that time period, who wasn't the KKK?
Yeah, I mean, and are we applying 2026 standards to, you know, it's like your parents. You know, I hear people, oh, my parents didn't do this, my parents didn't do that. If your parents didn't throw you in a dumpster, you should be so busy being grateful that you ain't got time to critique them, because a lot of parents did the best they knew how.
This right here, our people, this is a huge planet. And until we realize we got people, I'm talking about, that's actually first, second, third cousins to us that's outside of this place.
Mm-hmm.
In other parts of the world, we'll still be in a box. We universal people here.
Correct.
And we can't be in the box no more.
So you know I do get this point about Marcus Garvey and his back to Africa movement. And so we are clear now, probably 100 years later, that the back to Africa was not for us. That was somebody else's idea for us. Would y'all agree with that, Planet? Hannibal?
That was a part of after the emancipation. They didn't want us to keep us here. After they freed the so-called slaves here, they put them on ships. That group in Liberia is a group of us. We got first cousins second cousins that live in Liberia right now, especially us that's got relatives in Georgia and Alabama, because they were the first ones to go over there. So that's facts. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I feel a certain way
Night Crave. What an axe to grind. Who else is on the hit list? Who else is bad for black people? And let me just put the link out there, because I don't, share your thoughts. Come on the show. We welcome you to come into the studio.
We everywhere, you guys. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I think don't put us in a box. Don't put yourself in a box.
Correct.
We have enemies on multiple fronts.
And blood on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
And I say again, what have you done?
And then also you've got the spook who sat by the door. Now was he Tommen?
No, he wasn't Tommen, was
or he was researching.
Yeah,
You feel me?
Yeah.
To find the time to be in a position where he could make a move.
Remember the brother on the spook sat behind the door? He looked like kind of white, and he said, "Man, I'm a nigga just like everybody else." But people like if you don't know about the spook who sat beside the door, it's about a brother who went to the FBI, right? And he learned the inner workings, and he brought them back, and he basically built an army. And then with that army, you had like what we talking about now. You had different views of black. You get what I mean? You had different skin complexions, ideologies. You get what I mean? That was a good movie. Basically showing what it would take to build an army, and if you did build an army, what would happen? How would they come at you? It was a great movie. But basically hitting on things that we are working with right now.
Right.
Trying to get on one accord with one another.
Absolutely.
He said, "Not sell my people to another land."
This might be the end of Marcus Garvey ever again.
What is that?
I'm about to show you.
Okay.
Say it ain't so, Marcus. They both had the same agenda. They had similar agendas.
KKK and
this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt, y'all. That's Marcus Garvey and Walter Plecker. One of the facts listed as the first census to count Indians was in 1890. It recorded 237,000 Indians. 1890 census records were burned mysteriously by fire in 1921. In 1924, Walter Plecker reclassified all Indians as Negro. When it comes to the connection between these two, Walter Plecker and Marcus Garvey, despite operating from opposite ends of the racial spectrum, Garvey as a black nationalist leader and Plecker as a white supremacist eugenicist, found common ground in the 1920s through a shared ideology of racial separation. Both men believed in keeping the white and black races separate. Walter Plecker sought to protect quote-unquote white purity, while Marcus Garvey aimed to build a strong, independent black nation in Africa, arguing that black people had no future in a white-dominated America. Did we have a future in white-dominated America? Could you say that we have? Could you say if he thought that back in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, would he have been wrong? Do we have a future in America? unlikely alliance. In the 1920s, Garvey formed an unlikely alliance with Walter Plecker and his associate Ernest Sevier Cox, based on their mutual interest in separating the races and relocating Black Americans to Africa. So I can understand people's disdain a lot better. Of course, for those that don't know, Walter Plecker reclassified tens of thousands of melanated people in Virginia. He was in charge of the census.
It was one thing that caught my attention. It said that the first census that recorded Native Americans in 1890. That's false. I could find you thousands of them in 1880 and 1870. So I think that's somebody trying to coerce a narrative. You got to do this research, you guys, yourself. You get what I mean?
Nightgrave, I hear you loud and clear, and I would have to give you facts if I were to argue it. So I accept it. I accept what you say, Nightgrave, on this topic. Our Nasa writes to Nightgrave, I'm teaching my young cousins they are not blackity black. They are American autochthonous people based on their ancestry, not a color or hue. And we get that. So, and it's going to take time. We have to, be patient. We've come a long way just in this hour and 36 minutes. So big ups to Nightgrave. I stand corrected.
And what's also, I would posit that they probably both were educated through the same system.
I've learned to be open. Nobody knows it all, and we got to remain teachable.
Correct.
I saw a melanated man I've known for at least 35 years. And I saw this cat in a situation in a community meeting. And brothers, let me tell you, I thought slavery had come back. The way this melanated man was acting, I didn't know if he was Chicken George, Fiddler, Kizzy's boyfriend. And this guy was paying such homage to this non-black woman.
Okay.
And you're in a room full of melanated people, and he just seemed like he was a slave. And like Brenda said, sometimes we are agents and we don't realize it.
Right. That can be true too.
That's a hard pill to swallow. What if you wake up and you found out that you did something that was against your people? And
then you got to correct it. You got to certainly not do it again.
There you go. Learn from your mistakes.
Recognize it and correct it. Same thing, same principles. And it's okay to make mistakes. Planet, you weren't here, maybe you did hear, but I started the show off, and I want to touch on it again. Where are we without forgiveness? If there's somebody, I had an experience over the weekend where a person apologized to me. And I'm reminded of the apologies that I may need to make.
It takes courage to apologize if it's sincere.
So if I've offended anyone on this show, I do apologize. I do get it passionate sometimes, but everybody is welcome here, and keep coming back. All are welcome.
It's a work.
Just don't talk about my mama. You can talk about anything you want. Come on, Planet, hit that bell, man. We're gonna rally this up. Okay. Get on up out of here. It's time for some dinner.
Okay.
You at peace, Hannibal?
I'm at peace, sir. I'm at peace.
Hannibal, how can people tell them the services you offer, Hannibal?
Well, right now I'm doing genealogy research. I can help you guys. You guys can send your emails to me. Those in the beginning of the show who wanted to contact me, I never seen their emails in the chat. So,
Well,
guys,
you already had mine because you got mine through my uncle, right?
yes, sir. I forgot that I did it to y'all.
I'm very intrigued to know about that.
Yes, sir. So that's what I do. I can help you get back to, if you're looking for a certain tribe or a certain family that's connected to a tribe, I can help you and give you some suggestions to break them barriers. When it comes to us doing research, it's like the 1870 census, that first census that we were freed on is the barrier. Because a lot of
I want to tell y'all a story that I learned from my grandfather on my father's side.
Is this a long story? Because it sounds like you're settling down.
I'm gonna shut it. I'm gonna shut it real fast.
Okay.
It was a white man that was his master, and well, he wanted to buy land. He couldn't. He had to buy the land for him. That's how much he loved my great grandfather. He loved him that much that he bought this land until he was able to purchase it himself. So once he purchased the land himself, he divvied that land out to his children. And one of the children still have that land to this day. And my great grandfather name was Newton Johnson. And I would like to know some information. It was in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So I want to know that.
Johnson's family, because my mother's mother name is Lula Johnson. They come from out of was that Rappahannock? Is that Fredericksburg, Virginia, up there, Rappahannock, Virginia?
Yeah.
But I think they got sold down the river, so they ended up down in Louisiana. So a lot of people from that part of Virginia got sold to Louisiana. Wow. So I can help you out. So we'll talk more after this.
Did you get his contact? Yeah, so there'll be a discussion after we end the show.
Yes, sir.
Great.
All right, so we're gonna end this on down. We got a nice way of closing it on down. I'm gonna pass the ball to the big brother. Thank you, Mr. Parallel. Appreciate your moral support more than anything, big brother. Come on with it, Planet.
Absolutely. Okay, so Corey, this is a bowl bell. And it's made up of multiple metals: gold, silver, platinum, tin, and it resonates a certain way. And my feeling, is that the physical is infused and activated through the spiritual. So until one is clear inside, it's going to be more difficult for him to be, or her to be, clear outside. Mm-hmm. So it's just a way of getting to that invisible or that still quiet point where your thoughts are mellow. That's it. Okay. So if we could take like 3 deep breaths. And whatever religious form you embrace, we know that God is one. So we just concentrate on the sound. Take it in. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace.
I want to give people a little taste in case they don't hear our introduction. Y'all got to hear the great work. This is for you too, Dapz. You say you're a musician. Check this out.
It's Muskoku, Mickey, Nico, Lukusi, Johnny, Gators, and Versatility, Hannibal, Blizzard, this party, Red Man, the Red Tsunami, Red Creeks, and the Red Ferrari, Red Clay, for Ranger Bodies, Medical, and X body, ya, bless. They call me Mr. Manifest. You fellas screaming out the chest. I got this technique best. I found my destination through a red light. Rock your soul through the daylight. Hot going crazy, right? Nazi going crazy, right? Up, man, fight. I'm purple haze through the night. I'm thinking chili out of spite. I'm making soup for the slice. I'm speaking Alabama cream. I'm top of going through the streets. I rock that rage on the day. Kusi King is out of ranges. Kusa. I'm talking, they call me Nico Tussanooey. Punk a flame like a dude. In the fields of the core. And I got some fun.
Very good, very good.
All right.
Excellent.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
thank you. We'll be back Thursday night at 8 p.m. Appreciate your understanding. Be nice. Try to forgive.
Amanda, I'm in my email, so I'll get at you.
Blessings, blessings.